What is up, everybody? Welcome to Party on Broad. Tonight we are breaking down the Sixers offseason. Joining me, here's Ryan Reese. Go give him a shout out on X at Philly Sports PSA. What's up, Ryan?
Not much, man. Ready to talk some Sixers now that the offseason is just inches away. Let's get to it.
Yeah, we're it's almost here, man. Also joining us, here's Rob Lange at Philly_Madness. What's up, Rob?
I'm here. I'm telling you right now, guys, that's the first of many mistakes tonight. I am as delirious as they come. I hit the mute button on my mic. Didn't even realize I did it. But no, I'm happy to be here. Happy to start. Happy that the offseason is finally here because I think we were driving ourselves crazy just talking about player after player and all. Now, slowly but surely things are going to start happening. So, and we've said it a bunch of times. Biggest offseason
period,
maybe in 76ers history right now. So we'll see what happens.
It all comes down to Daryl Morey, man. And let's lead it off before we get into an interview with Austin Krell, the great Austin Krell, who breaks it all down. Rob, what's your confidence level in Daryl Morey that he can actually pull this giant rabbit out of his ass?
About a 4 right now. If I'm being honest, I don't have a ton of confidence. And it's just, there have been opportunities to build this roster, and I just haven't seen it. I understand that the Tobias Harris contract kind of limited you for a while, but look, Daryl Morey is looked at as this great GM, but what has he won? What has he won? At the end of the day, they haven't won. So, listen, it's not to say that he can't, but I can't say that going into this, I feel happy and chipper inside.
He's about an average GM. He's about as average as it gets. I was saying on Phil's show this morning, he came into the Sixers with one of the worst roster constructed periods ever, with Tobias and Ben Simmons and Horford and Embiid, and it was a mess. It was a hot mess, and then he lucked into Tyrese Maxey. But any GM could make that move. Ryan, what's your confidence level in Daryl Morey before we get into some free agency?
I would say I'm probably at a 6, actually. Listen, I think Morey's better than your average, in all honesty. I think he turned a nothingness that was Ben Simmons into the best that he could get at the time. And I think Harden again did good things, but again it just didn't work out. I think it's one of the things where unfortunately I think the player just kind of went a little sideways there, and I don't necessarily blame Morey for that. And then was able to turn him and flip him for assets back, and we finally have some picks to play with that we'll hopefully be utilizing this offseason. So I don't know. That's my opinion. I don't blame Morey for the Harden thing, even though again maybe the leaving of Harden might be on Morey, but still I think we all knew that Harden just wasn't really working out here.
Freddie says, is Morey a fraud? I'm a 2, especially with his postseason press conference. This is his offseason, man. This is his first chance to really, truly put a stamp on this roster. He dealt with a lot of fat with Tobias and Ben Simmons and James Harden contract. But at the end of the day, he also painted himself in the corner. Quentin says, Morey has an oft-injured superstar. Can't blame him for that. That is very true. How do you feel about exploring a trade for Embiid? I mean, in 2 years, he will have no trade value. Anybody want to take that before I do?
Disagree on in 2 years. And listen, I don't think when people say that it's as crazy as people mean it, think it is. Yeah, Embiid might be pound for pound probably one of the best players in the NBA right now, but again, he's getting up there. he is also often injured, and often injured at the absolute worst times. And the future is Maxey. It just is. I think I would personally love to keep Embiid and kind of have you build with Maxey and plus, and Embiid is just kind of like this amazing kind of, extra player almost in a way. I wouldn't trade him personally because you're never going to be satisfied with what you get. How many times have we traded away a superstar here and gotten absolutely rocked in that trade?
You never get fair value for
No, you never do.
No.
I mean,
I
I still have nightmares of Jeff Hornacek. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
You know what's funny? Real quick about that. I was actually on a plane with Jeff Hornacek when that trade went down, and that guy looked so miserable. It was I was just a little kid. And I remember he was right there on the airplane with me, and they looked so miserable.
How could you tell? How could you tell it was him? He looks like an accountant.
The way I look at it very simply. I'm not trading him right now. This is the one season but after this season, if it doesn't work out, you may not have an option because he may start, Embiid may start saying, all right, no, it's just not going to work here. So I really think it comes down to how the season goes, and that may be the only option you have.
Yeah, this is it. This is definitely it. My take on this is I just hope, and it's not happening, that Daryl Morey is exploring all options on the table. It's not happening again. It's not happening. It's not happening. But if there is a trade with the Thunder, that is, a very, very good deal. You have to listen to that. No, there's just that's part of being a GM. Freddie says he has no concerns about age. That is so concerning. So you're going to extend Embiid for the max. It's where the Sixers are at. It's just where the Sixers are at.
What else are you going to do?
You got to go down with the ship.
It's actually a savings, I think, right now if you do it.
Barkley, Iverson, you never get value. The Iverson deal, oh my God.
That again, he was completely at the end of his career, but I don't know. I think I
am Quentin. I am. I am definitely
as a GM.
Yeah, and look,
it's unfair for you to say any player is untouchable in any sport. I don't care what it is. I don't care what sport it is. If somebody's going to overpay and absolutely make your team better for now and the future, and somebody's willing to do that for you, you have to look into it. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying you have to do it. Look into it. That's what.
And by the way, the Iverson trade was, once again, they had no options at that point. He basically had done everything you could do to force your way out of a sit. That was before players just came out and downright said, I want to be traded. But he did literally everything you could do to say, yeah, it's not going to work here. I got to move on.
Quick shout out to Andre Smith. He was in that Iverson trade, and he was like usually one of my favorite watches as a Sixers fan. He was a great underrated player. Agreed.
I don't even remember who was in that trade. I couldn't tell you.
Yeah, Andre Smith, Joe Smith, I think.
Joe Smith.
Joe Smith. Do you remember who that was? He was like
yeah. I ran into him at a bar in Old City before when he was here. Wait, but anyway, Andre Smith. Why am I drawing a blank here?
He was a point guard. He was like a.
And then Andre Miller.
Andre Miller. Yeah,
I was going to say, but I didn't really. You know what's funny though? The reason I didn't go right to that was I thought he came at a little bit after. I didn't realize he was part of the trade.
Yeah,
Andre Miller was the prototypical point guard. I loved watching Andre Miller play.
He was crafty, man. He was soft. But anyway, we're going to be talking about our favorite offseason blueprints. But we also have an interview with Austin Krell, who's going to deep dive into Paul George, Jimmy Butler, LeBron James, Lauri Markkanen, Mikal Bridges, Brandon Ingram. It's about 18 minutes. We're going to play it here. We'll still be live. We'll still be interacting with our comments. I hope you enjoy. Now, he is the Austin Krell. Go give him a follow on X at NBA Krell. We are breaking down the top fits as Daryl Morey continues his star hunting for the Philadelphia 76ers. What's up, Austin?
Chris, the pleasure's always mine. How are you?
I'm good, man. We just went live here. The Phillies just hit a home run by Alec Boe, man. Vibes are good right now.
Yeah, I enjoy it when the baseball team is leading. I do not enjoy it when they lose or when they're trailing. I also do not enjoy bad umpiring behind home plate. But we can get my heart rate up at a different time.
Sorry to take it down a notch, though, because when people tend to talk Philadelphia 76ers, a little bit down in the dumps. So I thought, what better to bring the best of the best and rank the top fits for the Sixers when it comes to star hunting. We're talking Brandon Ingram, LeBron James, Jimmy Butler, Paul George, and Mikal Bridges and Lauri Markkanen. Austin, let's go 5-1. Who is your number 5 fit here for the Sixers?
Number 5. Are we factoring in cost to acquire? Because cost to acquire. Okay.
Absolutely.
It might be Lauri Markkanen as my 5th guy. Because number 1, I think Danny Ainge views him as a major asset. And I just don't see a world where he's like, yeah, this is going to cost you less than 5 first-round picks, and we're going to bludgeon and pillage your asset chest, and that'll be it. I think Lauri's game has grown mightily since arriving in Utah. There were signs that he was coming around a little bit before he got there, but he's really taken off as a stretch 4 type there. I have concerns when a guy becomes a star in a smaller market.
Right.
If it's because it's if part of it is the stage and the lack of pressure. So I do wonder if there is some Tobias Harris type risk there. But I think just the cost, he would be a great fit skill set wise, like a 4 3-point volume, excellent shooter, can do a little bit off the bounce. But I think just he's going to cost you the world. It's going to be hard to make trades and build a team around him. You're then going to want to extend him because you've traded everything to get him. And then we're talking about 3 cost-heavy or 3, expensive players at the top, and then you have your cap space in the middle of the roster and some exceptions, but you largely don't have ways to make moves until the middle of the season when those players become trade eligible. So to me, I just think it's harder to be maneuverable and build a team that you are comfortable with if you go at the route of Lauri, even though I think his skill set is remarkably perfect.
Yeah, I'm really intrigued with what the Utah Jazz plan to do this offseason. They've got a lot of mediocre guys that I think not necessarily fit the direction of Lauri Markkanen. Let's go to your number 4. Who's your number 4?
I think it's Brandon Ingram. He 22% of his shots attempted last season were threes. That ranks in the 4th percentile of all wings in the NBA. Does not take a lot of threes. He ranks in the 100th percentile in long mid range and mid range, in the 99th percentile in mid range in general. So I don't think he's Tobias Harris, but I think the skill set is eerily similar to Tobias Harris in that it's an inefficient guy who operates from the same spots that Joel doesn't really change or add a third dynamic to your offense at the wing position. I will say he's very good at shooting around the rim. That is a different layer than Tobias added. However, Ingram is also a very good foul drawer. So he at least is a 2-level scorer with a high release as a shooter. So I do think if you were to go for him, you could sell yourself on him being a major upgrade over Tobias. And just in terms of the self-creation, the star prowess in the mid-range. But I do think when your MO is you are a tough mid-range shooter, the high release point, it makes it so that way, like in the playoffs, your job is it's going to be harder for you to score because you're taking shots that are that are more contested, where helpers are nearby because you're operating around the elbows and whatnot. And I just think I need to see somebody who is a proven will take 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 catch and shoot threes per game.
Yeah. That decreasing 3-point attempt rate scares the hell out of me, man. That's at that price tag, in that role. The definition of insanity, man. That Brandon Ingram is definitely not on my list. But let's roll on to your number 3. Who's your number?
I will say, like, the reason that he's ahead of Laurie because of the polar opposite skill sets is, like, as much as I don't love the skill set and the fit on the basketball court, clearly New Orleans doesn't want to pay him. He's going to be available for less than Laurie Markkinen would be available for. He's going to be playing for a new contract, so he's going to have some financial motivation to make some tweaks to his game if the Sixers come to him and ask him for that. So I do think there is a layer where maybe he is more where he's easier to get without giving up everything, and he's more tweakable, if you will.
All right. Who is your number 3?
Number 3, I would say, is Mikal Bridges. I think is pretty easy.
Wow. Okay.
Well, because I have two guys tied for 2. I have 2 guys at number 2. For me, Mikal is number 3. I think the cost is going to be pretty high, but I do think, like, lanky, long defender, has played in some extremely high pressure playoff series as a third option or a secondary option. He proved in Brooklyn that he can, like, he can put it on the floor a little bit and do a little bit of creation, but if you can overtax his skill set if you ask him to do too much with the ball in his hands. A willing 3-point shooter with a really high release so he can get it off over anybody. The contract at this stage is pretty good, but you are going to probably have to max him out when you pay multiple first-round picks to get him. There's also, I think, the storyline of, like, bring him home. You had him in the first place. You let him go. He was always the missing piece, yada, yada, yada. I don't think that's a good way of looking at it because I think you can make mistakes that way. But right now he's in his prime still, but not even 30. And the defensive prowess is just insane. So I would go him 3rd.
Easily one of the guys that would instantly get me all in on the Sixers in 2025. Surround him with Maxey and Embiid. That would be hell of exciting. Who's your number 2, Austin?
Number 2 is 2 guys. You can't go right with either, but that also means that you can't go wrong with either, because whoever you're picking, you should have picked the other guy. That also means you picked the right guy. It's Jimmy Butler and Paul George, both gonna. I think the cons of them is Jimmy, and I think Paul is gonna be turning 35 end of the regular season, something like that, last start of the playoffs. Jimmy turns 35 in September before he plays a game for the Sixers if he is the guy. Jimmy's playoff experience is well noted. He is largely considered currently one of the active top 5 or 10 playoff players. Downside is it's hard to sell yourself on a guy who doesn't give a shit about the regular season when your best player is Joel Embiid, who you need to be monitoring for the regular season.
Absolutely.
So how does that dynamic work out? Jimmy also is not a willing 3-point shooter. I think the Sixers feel like talent, just get stars together and it'll all figure itself out. You can mash them together, and even if one guy is not a willing 3-point shooter and not a great spacer, you can kind of just make it work. Jimmy and Joel, they do have that history where they have that chemistry. I also think Tyrese Maxey is a very potent off-ball option. So, and his personality is such where he will, I would think he'd be agreeable to playing more of an off-ball role if asked to. But I also think, like, we have the next game that Jimmy Butler plays is going to be the first game he's played since he suffered the knee injury, where he caused him to miss the playoffs. We do not really know how that body's going to age. He's going to coast through the regular season. Do the Sixers end up in a 7-8 seed again because of that and because they're managing Joel? I don't know, but I do think that team would have a heck of a lot of playoff gravitas because like Jimmy is Jimmy and Joel and Tyrese and that big three in the playoffs would be insane. I also think it's notable that like with Jimmy, it's if you acquire him, you're paying the current year of his deal, and then he wants an extension that would replace his player option the following year. So it's really a 3-year max instead of the full 4-year max. With Paul George, it's like the exact opposite. He will shoot a ton of threes. He was very available last regular season in terms of health. His playoff cachet is not anywhere near as what Jimmy's is. But you're asking him to be a third option in Philadelphia instead of a first option or, whatever. I do think there is some, like, if you play 110, 115 playoff games like he has in his career, you're going to have some stinkers. It's just inevitable. But there's a reason that some people call him way off P and playoff P because he's known to have bad playoff games. And I do wonder, like, he just had his best year last. He was just incredibly available last year in terms of his health. Does that mean he's due for some wear and tear and some setbacks this year in terms of injuries? I don't know, but those would be my top. Those would be my both guys. Either guy would be my second choice.
Yeah, I'm pretty out on Paul George and Jimmy Butler. The good thing, though, I think with that, there are times when Tyrese Maxey can be a little tentative on offense, and I think Butler and George would come in and kind of decrease the usage rate of Embiid instantly, which is definitely something that we need to see happen this offseason and moving forward.
With Paul, it is a 4-year max as opposed to Butler's 3-year max. So there is a years and cost there. That also Jimmy's going to cost you picks, and whereas Paul George in theory could be a free agent signing where there is no picks, you could build your roster out by trading picks.
Any like gut feeling what that trade could look like for Jimmy Butler and how many picks?
I think Miami was posturing early on in the offseason. Like any trade for Jimmy Butler is going to be like 5 first-round picks and swaps or like whatever. And you can go F off if you think you're going to get that for 35. Jimmy Butler. Like, I'm sorry, you're just not. I think it will come down to how aggressive Butler is when he's eligible for his extension, how close the Heat are willing to get to the number Butler wants, and if it's not close, where does that relationship stand? Because we know that if Jimmy is not happy about certain things, he will make it known publicly and bluntly and with force. And the Heat might just say, like, we're not an organization that's going to conduct business like that. Get out of here. And Philly, here he is. Give us the and we can pretend we can all get what we want out of this. I think it would also have to be a 3-team trade potentially, because I don't see Miami just rebuilding and being like, well, we have Bam, we have Hero, we have picks, let's go find or draft our third guy. Like, they're gonna want a star in return to build with those guys. I think if we're being honest with ourselves here, Tyler Hero's contract was the beginning of the end of that team. But hey, who am I?
That's what's so mentally exhausting about this Sixers offseason is that pretty much every trade they have to make for a notable player has to be some sort of third team. And it's like it's exhausting. It's straight exhausting. Who's your number one? Obviously, LeBron.
Number one, it is LeBron James. I've said this on the radio, I've said this in writing. I don't care about the name of my jersey. I don't care about the star. I don't care about the star equity. I don't care about the points per game, all that stuff. What I care about is that at age 40, LeBron is playing. He knows how to play the shooting guard position. He knows how to play point guard, knows how to play small forward, knows how to play power forward. He is handling the ball. He knows how to play make. He shot I think, a career high 5 threes a game last season, or not, maybe not career high 5 threes, but it was 5 threes a game. Shot a career high 41% from three. He knows how to mold himself and be malleable, unlike any of the guys we've mentioned. Obviously, he has the star equity to back all of that, but he has an understanding for what any game needs, and he will mold himself to play that game. If it means his team wins, he's just super versatile still at his age. I think he also is a little bit more committed on the defensive end when he feels like he's playing for something meaningful. He would be in Philadelphia. I think there are some durability things to think about. Like he played through a foot injury last season when the Lakers got to the conference finals. He is still racking up the minutes and the games played. So I think the production tells you that like the investment in his body that he puts that in every offseason to stay in shape and stay at his top level, that his body is not failing him, massively anytime soon, it looks like. So I don't think it's like 40-year-old LeBron. What are you getting out of that? But I do think he is easily the best fit, best target. And if you get him, it's free agency. It's not having any trade picks. I do think people will say, "Oh, well, you're going to draft Bronny." Yeah, you might have to draft Bronny in a draft class that is known to not be very good. And maybe you like Bronny, maybe you develop Bronny into something, and maybe it's not a waste of a pick. Maybe it is a waste of a pick and a roster spot, but you get LeBron James out of it, who is quite good.
Dude, you know me, I'm a draft sicko, and I'm always biased. I always lean towards keeping picks. 100%, you make the selection. You take, if it's you take Bron, you get LeBron, you do it 1,000 times.
And I think if Daryl Morey was promised that drafting Bronny would increase LeBron coming to Philadelphia likelihood by X%, I would guess that he would probably do it.
All right. That is our top 5 targets for Daryl Morey and the Sixers. Austin, where can we find you, man? What do you got going on there at 97.3?
You can find me at 973ESPN.com, on Twitter at NBA Krell, covering the Sixers on the beat. I'll be writing about off-season choices and things that occur as they occur. I'm not one of those who prescribes plans. Rather, I react to what happens after it happens. I will be there on draft night, reporting live. So, gonna look out for that. It's all I got, Chris. Thanks for having me as always.
Best of the best right there. I can't wait for Daryl Morey to get up to that podium on draft night, and we don't have a pick. We have officially traded it.
but if he does trade the pick, it's to get somebody else.
Right.
So that opens up that line of questioning. So it'll be interesting.
Caruso. Excuse me. Sorry. But anyway, maybe Patrick Williams. I don't know. Who does? But anyway, that is the Austin Krell. Go give him a shout out on X at NBA Krell. Thanks, Austin.
Thanks, Chris.
All right. Thanks for hanging, guys. Unmute everybody here. Yeah. Ryan, they're good. All right. So let's do a quick reaction to Austin's interview, and we'll each rank our 6 targets there. But first, we had a lot of comments I want to get to. That was really fun while watching the interview.
Surprising. Nothing was positive.
You're right.
I know it's a long shot, but I truly believe the only way the Sixers win a championship in the next 2 or 3 years is to sign LeBron. We're going to get heavy into that in just a second. Morey is a fraud, has never won anything, and most of his moves are average at best. He walked into Tyrese Maxey. Every single GM would have done that. It's ironic, too, because they're in a draft right now where literally just now it was tweeted that Rob Dillingham, a Kentucky guard that's 6'1" and like 160 pounds, is could be potentially falling out of the lottery. It's almost the same exact scenario with Tyrese Maxey. All right. But anyway, Laurie, Mikal, and Maxey, the best big 3 in the NBA. Sign me the F up for that. That would be hell of a good time. Rick
It's going to
says,
cost you about 10 picks, but
yeah, I
good.
don't know how they financially do that with the assets they have. But Rick says, won't ever win a championship with Butler under George. I don't want Jimmy or Paul George. LeBron is the answer. Bottom line, no more guys from the Social Security line. We will not win with Butler or George. Huge waste of money and time. Jimmy will, I like this comment. Jimmy will increase Joel Zeus's rate. He doesn't play regular season games. Trading Butler would be an absolute. Trading for Butler would be a disaster. He's a poison. It's okay to draft Bronny to get LeBron. The flop is the only one I want from that list. All right, let's do a tier ranking real quick. Quick thoughts out of that and tier ranking those guys. I'll do it real quick. For me, like I was shocked at the Paul George and Jimmy Bucket take, but for me, it's without a question, Lauri Markkanen, Mikal Bridges. Those are the top two. That's the pipe dream. That's the top. After that, it's LeBron. That's for me. And then number 3, 4, 5, and 6. I don't want it. It's straight up. I don't want to do it. That's my take. What about you, Rob?
I am not going to start with anybody but one of the greatest players ever played a game. LeBron is the top for me because I'm only looking at this from a 2 to 3 year standpoint.
Yeah.
And if you add LeBron to this team, I think whoever made that comment is dead on. You're a title contender for the next 2 to 3 years. After LeBron, I think it's Bridges. And, I think I've been very adamant that that's my number one wish list move this offseason. So I think that there I'd go there. Then I'd probably go Lauri from there. And the only reason I'm not as gung-ho on Lauri is I think out of all the things we just discussed, the least chance of something happening is Danny Ainge trading Lauri Markkanen to Daryl Morey and the 76ers. From there, I'd go probably Paul George, then Brandon Ingram, then Jimmy Butler. And the Jimmy Butler thing, it really is just because he doesn't play in the regular season, and we need somebody to take some minutes away and take some games away so that Joel can rest. I am more okay with the Paul George than I thought I would be, if that makes sense. I did not think I would be going into this season, but the more I look at it, and Austin brought up a great point, we're not asking him to come here and be a star. We're asking him to come here and be not even the second option, to be the third option, but he's not afraid to shoot the basketball. Yes, he's not the defender he once was, but he's a long guy, he's a wing. So I would be okay with that. Brandon Ingram,
hold up.
Yeah.
Are you convincing yourself that it would be
really
No, it's not even convincing myself. I think that I'm okay with it because once again, let's put it this way. I don't trust Daryl Morey to, instead of getting one star and then rounding out a roster, I don't trust him to just sign a bunch of really good guys for that same money. I think it would be a disaster. So, I would have to talk myself into Brandon Ingram or Jimmy Butler because I just don't see it with either one of those guys. I think the fact that Ingram is shooting less and less threes per game is a tough one for me.
That's the sell. He did, to be fair on Ingram, and I am not an Ingram guy. He did have 2 years, like a few years ago.
Yeah.
Back to back, where he averaged over 8 3-pointers per 100 possessions. So he can do it, but it's that Tobias Harris situation.
Well, and look, I look at Brandon Ingram as he's a member of this generation that I got to be honest with you. I think they're soft. I don't think they're willing to work. I don't think they're willing. Not all of them, obviously. There's guys that are, but I think Brandon Ingram's soft. I think he's a Ben Simmons. He's not as bad as Ben Simmons soft, but I don't think he's willing to mold his game into something different. Like he wants to play the way he wants to play, and that's not going to work here. So,
yeah. What about you, Ryan? Any thoughts?
Honestly,
Ryan doesn't want anybody.
No, you're right. I don't, honestly. I don't want people that are almost older than me. You know what I mean? Like in basketball terms, you're 33. You might as well be as old as I am. Certainly old as I feel. Listen, yeah, marketing, Mikal Bridges, those are nice. I'll take those. But you're right. It's going to take way too much to give. We don't have enough to get both of them, I don't think. So like, again, that kind of is off to the side. LeBron, like, all right, that's cute. Like, let's be honest, it's cute. Like it's nothing more than that. Like, come on. LeBron's the greatest 40-year-old athlete ever, made in the lab. But I don't know what that necessarily does. He's a shell of himself. I don't know. I don't want Paul George either. I don't want Jimmy Butler. Yeah, exactly. We got to get younger and faster. That's all I'm hearing is 33, 34, 35, 36-year-old dudes, 40-year-old dudes. Like, I'm sorry, that doesn't excite me, and it shouldn't excite anybody. If we can get somebody in their mid-20s, great. We need to build somebody, get a star with Maxey.
If you got a Woj bomb saying LeBron James signs 2-year deal with the 76ers, you're not excited?
I'm not saying I'm not excited because it's LeBron James. Like, great. We'll all go out and get his jersey and it'll be a fun two-year ride where we end up not winning anything.
At 40 years old, he's in better shape than most guys in their late 20s.
Okay. Well, what's that do for you?
I agree with this, Brian. It's out of all these scenarios we just gave, I think the only true chance at winning a championship is LeBron James. That's the only one.
I tend to agree with you. Like I said, I'm not like all in on Paul George. I think it's one of those things where it just seems like that's the most realistic and most logical.
That's probably what's going to happen, unfortunately.
But, I mean, if you saw Joel Embiid at the finals the other day talking about signing guys, and then he kind of like leans his head and nudges towards Paul George, so I mean, obviously they're talking. There's no doubt about that.
By the way, Brian, that is an amazing profile picture. By the way, if anybody doesn't know what that is.
Here, should we watch this real quick?
Yeah.
Boston Celtics getting ready to close the deal and win a championship. What does that have you thinking about as a member of the Philadelphia 76ers?
I can't stand them. I can't stand them. I hate Boston. Great city, great fans. Obviously they got some great players, but he hurts me a lot. So hopefully, this offseason we find a way to get better and, add some pieces. And,
By the way, I cannot stand Stephen A. Smith anymore. Have you seen the videos of him walking into the NBA finals? Like he's coming from the back and he's walking around like as if like there's 1,000 cameras on him. Like, bro, nobody cares about you, dude.
The only thing I like from Stephen A. Smith is the way he trolls Cowboys fans. I can watch any day.
He's a Philly guy.
But I agree. He drives me insane.
He can go kick rocks.
Joel would sign Tobias to a 5-year max. Yeah.
Listen, he's right. LeBron James is probably, out of those realistic things, is probably the best chance you might have. Because, again, LeBron's done it and been there and done it with, a lot less. But I don't know.
By the way, speaking of what Joel was just talking about, 21-point lead at the half for the Boston Celtics.
Oh, man. Brutal. Yeah. Absolutely brutal.
That's
all right. Let's quickly get into our off-season scenarios. Who wants to go first? Rob, lead us off, man.
Damn. Someone's excited.
I'll raise my hand on that one. Now, there was a lot of confusion about what we were trying to do before the
There
show.
was a lot of confusion.
We were miscommunication left and right. But so what I did was I came up with my wish list, and I think it could work because you're talking about a couple mid-level, couple minimum guys, but then obviously the big move. And for me, and I still think it's a pipe dream, but I think it's, for some reason, I think it's more realistic than any of us think. I want the trade for Mikal Bridges to go down. Okay. I want the trade for Mikal Bridges. And I think one of the things you do here on top of offering a few picks is if Brooklyn decides that we've got to rebuild.
I can't.
Oh, Quentin, you're a gem.
I'm sorry, Rob. I was like, Maxey, LeBron, Oubre, 12. I'm like, no.
Wow. Took me a second. I was like, 12. I was like, oh, you son of a bitch, Q.
Oh my God. That was good. But one of the things I would do to facilitate this trade was, if Brooklyn makes this trade, they're in total rebuild mode, which they should be. They lost a lot of picks. They've got to get a lot back. You would think at this point. But if they're in full sell mode, offer to take the Dorian Finney-Smith contract.
I like it
as well, because then you get that off of them. You can obtain that right with your thing. Now, once you do this deal, it's going to be mid-level and veteran minimums to surround it. But Finney-Smith, I think with this team, there's a good role for him here. I think there's a really good role for a player like Finney-Smith. And now you have Bridges, you have Maxey, Embiid, and now you could start filling in the pieces. So for me, my first move is that I trade for Bridges. Probably, I don't think it's a 5 first-round picks, but maybe it's a 3 first-round picks, and maybe a couple seconds, and you take on the contract of Dorian Finney-Smith as well. So you add 2 roster spots there. Okay. Number 2 for me, and I think we've all said this at some point, bring in Andre Drummond. If you get him to sign for a good backup deal. He has to understand that his career now should be a backup, and there's probably not a better place for him to be a backup than right here in Philadelphia behind Embiid. He's going to play quite a bit. He's going to be able to take some of those minutes. Like I said, you can play him in the minutes you need the defensive rim protector, but you still have a spot for Paul Reed if he's on this roster as well. Number 3, this goes to the backup point guard role. I think he was one of the guys I spoke about when we were doing our players, and that's my boy from Duke, Tyus Jones.
Yeah.
I love the idea of Tyus Jones being the backup point guard here, coming off the bench, being able to control the offense, but also being able to spot up and hit a few threes. I really like his game. I think it serves him best to be a backup. And I think here he would get that opportunity. And then when you go with a couple minimums here and some flyers, I take a flyer on a minimum of Cam Reddish. And my reason behind I feel like everybody's froze.
You are.
You're good. You're good. I'm
good. Okay. It just froze on my side. And I was like, they're either really intently listening to me or everybody's frozen. So anyway, I like the flyer on Cam Reddish. He's been known he could defend a little bit. He could shoot a little bit. This is obviously a minimum guy. He's a top 7 or 8 guy, maybe coming off the bench. But I would take a flyer. Honestly, I take a flyer on many guys out of Atlanta because I think that's just such a bad situation. I know he's out of there now, but I think that just kind of like poisons you when you're down there. And number 5 for me, it's very simple. Get Nico Batum to play one more year. Get him to play one more year. I want Nico Batum and his leadership on this team. And I think, if you add those 6 guys, I think those 6 guys with Maxey and Embiid, I think you've got the makings of something there.
All right, let me just to backtrack. You got Maxey. I'm looking at your guard position. You got Maxey and Tyus Jones.
Mm-hmm.
You've got Cam Reddish.
Mm-hmm.
You've got Dorian Finney-Smith, LeBron James.
No, I don't have LeBron.
No?
No, it would be nice, but no, I'm
you
trading
got
for Mikal Bridges.
I'm sorry, you got
Yeah,
Mikal.
Mikal.
Yeah. I'm looking at my sheet and vice versa. So I'll put Dorian Finney as the 4.
Yeah. That'll work.
Mikal as a 3. Are you having Cam start? Cam Reddish start?
Shit.
By the way, I think Cam is an underrated target this offseason.
I mean, I would from a I guess a length standpoint. You know, I think I think he's taller than Maxey, right? Cam Reddish 6'4".
Oh, for sure, yeah.
6'5". Yeah. So yeah, start Reddish. Start Reddish.
Okay. And yeah, okay. Let's go. Ryan, do you want to go or you want me to go?
I can go. I don't mind.
All right, you're up, man.
All right. So,
I think Rob's frozen there.
yeah,
So
Rob was definitely, yeah. Anyway, yeah. So my off-season target here is going to center around DeJounte Murray, who now with the Hawks. I think honestly, I think what we could do is get a 3-team deal going. Shoot out our pick this year, the one in 28, I believe, is we can trade out, and a 27 second rounder for Murray, obviously from the Hawks, and we add in the Jazz so that we could get Collins as well. John Collins in. So basically, we would bring in those guys. The Hawks would send Murray to us, Clint Capella out to the Jazz. They would also get the Hawks would also get our first this year, our first in 20 the pick. I'm sorry, the pick we got from the Clippers in the 28 first rounder. And our 27th second and a 24 second from Utah. And then the Jazz would then, of course, get Clint Capella and that second rounder from Atlanta. So that way we bring in not only DeJounte Murray and John Collins, who I like, who's kind of, again, lost in Utah. So after doing all that, probably going to have to, send some vet guys, exception guys. I want to sign Andre Drummond. I thought, again, he was the best backup that Embiid has had. So bring him back. Go ahead and sign Taurean Prince and hopefully keep Oubre. Probably have to use the exception. So essentially, your team kind of looks like DeJounte Murray, Maxey, Oubre, John Collins, and Embiid, and then you have Taurean Prince and Andre Drummond to back up.
all right. Rick says, with all due respect, none of those scenarios beat the Celtics. The only way we steal a championship next year in the next 3 years is LeBron James. All right. So your team is DeJounte Murray, Maxey, Taurean Prince, and Oubre, John Collins, and Embiid.
I think if you look at it just from a starting role, Murray, Maxey, Oubre, John Collins, and Embiid is probably your best starting 5 that you've had with Embiid, to be perfectly honest. And then you have Drummond, who is a great backup for Embiid. You have Prince as well, who I think could end up having a significant role in the rotation. So I don't know. I think I don't know. I just like the look of the 5. And this way, when Embiid does need to sit out, you have Drummond, who can come in and play those minutes, and the rest of the other 4 can still be out there, and you can still have a winnable basketball game. So.
Yeah.
All right. here is my
Thanks.
Pumper. I want to know. I got to know, Brian Pumper. I do have to ask this question though.
I gave him the best comment.
I do need to know Brian Pumper because he said he doesn't want any of these guys. Who do you want? Like who else? What are we like?
I think
you got to have guys. Let's see if you like Dibes' team. Let's see if Dibes is the guy.
Yeah, obviously. All right, so yeah, I'm Team LeBron. There's zero question that he has a better chance of winning a championship here than he does in LA. So give me LeBron. You give a max contract to LeBron. That's going to leave the Sixers with more than 15 million cap space. That gives you plenty of room for the mid-level. That gives you another room for vet minimums. Next up, I'm really shocked that you said Dorian Finney-Smith because that was the guy I was thinking.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's really fun. So Dorian Finney-Smith is a guy that I'm looking at. His defense is top notch. This guy's as versatile as you'll find. His shot has fallen off a little bit the last 2 years at 34.3%, but the last 3 years before that, he was nearly 40% from three. So there's a good chance that he bounces back in a big way. And then I'm looking at DeLon Wright on a vet minimum. I'm looking at a really good fit for Tyrese Maxey. DeLon Wright is like your quintessential fit with Maxey off the bench. Really good defender, very good three-point shooter. He looked really good with the Heat after the trade deadline last year. 5.4 points, 2.6 assists on nearly 40% from three. So my lineup, and I'm also bringing back Oubre on another prove-it deal because I don't think he wants to go anywhere now that LeBron is in town. So I've got Maxey and DeLon Wright as my kind of guard situation. I've got Oubre, I've got Finney-Smith, I've got LeBron, and I've got Embiid. Does that inch you any closer to an NBA championship?
Well, I think we all sat here and said LeBron does make you closer to an NBA championship. So, and I think you filled out the roster the right way around them. I mean, I just don't see LeBron leaving LA. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I would love that. I'm on board with that. I just don't know if it's going to happen.
All right.
Listen, you just got to convince him to come to Philly for two years. He can keep his LA home. He can keep doing his little Hollywood, whatever crap that he likes to do. Bring in Bronny, bring in LeBron, and listen, try to fill out the roster as best you can with whatever money you have left. And that might be your best case, unfortunately, if you're not going to be able to get any of these young guys. I'd rather LeBron than I'd rather Paul George,
Tex says Quentin's team is better than EOP's team. Brian says addition by subtraction. You know what I want? Change of culture. He wants to trade Embiid. All right. I've got a few others. You give me yay or nay. Okay. Here we go.
Okay. Here we go.
I'm going to run through it real quick before we close it up because I spend way too much time on these things. That's all I think about. All right. Yeah. I think Rob's going to like this. This is the all-in scenario with role players. So we're not star hunting. We're trying to develop a roster around, the Aaron Gordons, the low risk, high reward type of move. So the three we're looking at is Andrew Wiggins, Jeremy Grant, and Alex Caruso.
Interesting.
Right. So here we go. First move is with the Thunder and the Blazers, a 3-team deal where the Sixers get Andrew Wiggins, Golden State sends out Wiggins and a first-round pick for Jeremy Grant. Blazers take picks from Philly and Golden State. You look at Wiggins. Wiggins had a down year last year. He's still one of the best 3-and-D wings in the NBA. And you also bring in Jeremy Grant, a guy that does not rebound. Let's make that clear. He sucks as a rebounder, but he's a guy that's going to score often and play solid defense. The Blazers asked him to do a lot more scoring with no Dame and no Anthony Simmons when he went out with an injury last year, and he did okay. But I think him as kind of a guy trying to find himself would be really interesting. We also traded the first-round pick for Alex Caruso, a true point of attack defender that we've been missing, that can be physical and fight through screens and slow down pick and rolls on the perimeter. So my starting five there would be Maxey, Caruso, Wiggins, Grant, and Embiid. Any thoughts on that?
It's not bad.
Yeah, not bad. I'm not you brought it up. I would like my 4 guy of Grant to rebound a little bit better than he does, but I wouldn't mind. I mean, you're athletic as hell. You got an athletic as hell group out there, so I'm on board with that part.
So yeah, we're building around guys that are maybe better fits as 3s, 4s, and 5s on a better team. So Wiggins and Grant. Grant's contract is horrible, I'll be honest, but that's kind of why they're looking to move on as well. All right, let's go to my next scenario. I'm surprised. I think you guys were kind of in on it.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. All right, here's my next scenario for the Sixers. It's the anti-star hunting. We are trading for an ascending player. If you've watched a previous Party on Broad, you know where I'm going. It's Cade Cunningham. Cunningham is 22 years old. Winning has not happened in Detroit, and Cade has one more year on a rookie deal. Doesn't appear to be the number one the Pistons are hoping he would be. Cade, I think, is the perfect example of what we're talking about. Kind of that bridge gap for the Sixers as a guy that can grow and fit really well with Maxey, but also check off the box of a guy that's going to get buckets. He's got a solid handle. He can grow with Maxey. He can allow Maxey to thrive off the ball, but he can also get easier shots now in Philadelphia, that he's probably the number 3 shot creator with the Sixers. So in that scenario, I've got Cade Cunningham as my point guard, Tyrese Maxey. I'm going to sign Caleb Martin as my 3, a guy that deserves a promotion, a guy that is an excellent 3-and-D guy there for Miami with the mid-level. And then I'm bringing back Nico Batum, and another guard that I really like is Chris Dunn. Got some personality issues, but Chris Dunn is a terrific defensive guard that I think would fit really well. So my lineup there is Cade, Maxey, Caleb Martin, Nico Batum, and Embiid, and Chris Dunn off the bench. Any thoughts on that?
I like that a lot. I am a big fan of Cade Cunningham, and I'm a big fan in the fact of everything you just said as far as he's coming down to the end of his rookie deal. He's obviously not the first round top pick that he was supposed to be for Detroit. And this way they can kind of, reset almost their trying to get back to relevancy here with a nice trade of Cade, because they're using him as their number 1. They have no other options, honestly, and he's obviously just not a number 1. But if you bring him into a situation like this where he's the 3rd option, I think he's going to flourish, honestly. And he's young, and you can absolutely grow him with Maxey and keep going that way. So I love it.
Yeah, I would love the idea of adding a Cade Cunningham to this team, and I think Caleb Martin's an excellent role player. I think he fits the bill here for sure. Like I said, I love bringing Nico Batum back. I don't know if I want Nico Batum to be a starter at his age, but maybe he's the guy that he starts, but he may not be the finisher. Like that kind of role. If they can get somebody else that could come in and be a finisher for them, so. I actually think I like that group even more than the first group.
Yeah.
Brian says Chicago's ownership is not trading Caruso for less than 2 firsts. There was a report that Chicago turned down a top 10 pick for Alex Caruso. Now, again, this is all posturing. This is the season of this is what teams do.
I am probably the lowest on Caruso in this group of the 3 of us. I don't see it, honestly. I really don't. To me, when I see his game, all I see is the great white hype, and that's it. Unfortunately, I really do.
Defends, though, man.
He's an
He
energy guy.
defends.
Yeah, believe me, I see what he can do, but like, come on, top 10 pick, 2 first, whatever is. I don't think he's worth that at all. So
Yeah.
That's fair.
His contract is really solid.
yeah, I mean, if he was a free agent, that's one thing. I'd try to go sign him because I think he absolutely can have a role here, but not if I have to give up a whole lot of assets that we just got back from trading Harden. No way.
Brian says, think one guy could help Maxey is Russell Westbrook, I believe. And this is coming from a anti-Russell Westbrook guy. He's exactly what you're looking for as like a backup point guard for this team. Absolutely.
But is he willing to be a mentor?
I think so.
He's willing to be
he's gotta be. I like that comment. That's a good one. All right, my final scenario for you guys. I think this is absolutely a home run. Obviously, this
all
is
draft picks.
This is no. It's the exact opposite. This is the trade for Lauri Markkanen. All right.
Okay.
All right. So we're sending Paul Reed, the 2026, the 2028 first rounders, the 2029 pick swap. We're sending the 2030 first rounder. We're bringing in Lauri Markkanen. We already talked about why he's a good fit. We're also signing Caleb Martin because you're still going to have plenty of money to deal with the trade. You also have enough money to sign Heald. Let's give him like $20 million. And then you've got 36 more million to sign between 2 or 3 more players. So I brought up Caleb Martin. Let's bring in Kevin Looney as a backup 5. Kevin Looney is a guy that just got cut. 9 years. He's a very good offensive rebounder. So that is a huge fit for the Sixers, offensive and defensive rebounding. And then DeLon Wright. So I'm talking Maxey and DeLon Wright at the 1. I've got Buddy Hield. I've got Caleb Martin, Lauri Markkanen, and Embiid and Kevin Looney. Any thoughts?
It's a lot to give up.
Yeah.
It's a lot. But I'm not saying it doesn't work because
no. And I thought Austin brought up a good point too, of being somewhat fearful of can Lauri Markkanen be that type of a player when the spotlight's on him game in and game out in a city like Philadelphia instead of in a city like you. And I'm not saying he can't. I'm just saying I don't know. Utah is not, Philadelphia. It's just not. And the way this town is, they'll turn on him after 3 bad games. It'll be, Lauri Markkanen. It's way friggin' people are in this town. But so it is a lot to give up. But I guess look, I've said it all along. I'm willing to do whatever it takes to make this work. So if that's what it takes to make this work, then go ahead and do it.
Yeah.
I don't know about this comment.
Russ has been a great mentor to the young Clippers players. His effort is
the Clippers haven't done anything as a team.
Can't really comment on that because I didn't.
No, I mean my thought is I'm just saying just based off of the fact that they have done absolutely nothing, and I don't know. I don't feel like I'm hearing about the young Clippers coming into their own right now. I know they refused to trade Bones Highland or whoever it was, Trey Mann, when we were looking. But I don't even know if he did anything this year. I didn't hear anything about Trey Mann.
I sure didn't either.
The Sixers have had their fair share of losers in this town.
Yeah.
And keep in mind, Russ and Joel do not. You could say whatever you want. They don't like each other.
Yeah, they probably don't. I don't.
Yeah, I remember that.
So back to Markkanen, and you're absolutely right. I think what sunk Tobias Harris, besides the fact that he's god awful, that obviously that contract was a noose around his neck. And I think if you give up way too much for Lauri Markkanen, you're gonna throw a lot of weight on his shoulders before he even sets foot on this floor, because that's the way Philly is. Like any other town that might be different, but here you're already in a little bit of quicksand before you get started. So unless he absolutely blows up, hopefully, like we would assume, if he struggles even a little bit, that might be something he's not used to, considering where he's, been in Utah.
Yeah. I remember convincing myself that Terrence Mann was like the next coming. You remember that? So great.
Well, I mean, here's the one thing about that. He says Paul George's availability, I think, is what he's saying. I don't think that he played 74 games this year. I don't think that was the issue. I mean, playoffs, everyone has that argument dead on. He has been very, very bad in the playoffs. But listen, Brian, you're out in LA.
They call him way off Paul.
Yeah.
Way off Paul.
Yeah. But Brian, you're out in LA, so you probably are seeing stuff way more than any of us are. So I mean, I'll take your word for it on guys like Man and Amir Coffee. Absolutely. I'm just saying, I don't know if Russell Westbrook, wants to come back here and be a mentor. And like I said, I think him and Joel clash. I just don't think it works.
All right, guys.
It's late.
Do we really need a mentor from Ashley? Let's let the kid do his thing, man. He's fine.
He needs more of I like the Tyus role, like a Tyus Jones coming in and kind of showing some things, because Tyus is crafty. Tyus can shift gears. Tyus can do all those things that we still need Maxey to take another step within his playmaking. So I like that. I like the idea of bringing in a legit point guard like a DeJounte Murray. Definitely like plan C if things don't happen, but I'd be okay with that. I would be okay with that. Paul George selection is biggest issue. Yeah.
I agreed 100%. I agree 100%.
Yeah. I want a saucy too.
He's a turnover machine too. Paul George. So, all right, let's close up shop, man. Rob, final thoughts. We're all tired.
Yeah, I am. I'm exhausted. Oh boy, I got a child running down. But look, this was not planned. Look at the jersey. Show him your jersey.
Let's go.
He's rocking his Maxey today. Hot day. He was outside. So I have a Sixers shirt on too. Yes, this is very true. Yes, I'm a degenerate father. Okay, my 4-year-old is up at 10:15. Deal with it, ladies and gentlemen.
Summer.
Just deal with it. It's summertime. They're done school, baby.
Come on, no school.
High five. All right. Anyway, yeah, my final thoughts are it's going to be a wait and see. Oh Jesus. This is
out of hand.
I told you this show was not going to, something delirious was going to happen, and here it is. Because normally I'd be like pushing him out of the way. I don't even have the energy to do it. I don't know. Guys, it's going to be a fun off season, hopefully, and hopefully they do the right things. Am I doing my sign off now too, Dibes?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. All right. So a meeting of the minds took place this week between me, Dibes, and Big Al. And we've decided PSD we have decided that PSD needs something. It needs another kick. And you know what that kick is? We're going live, baby. We are going live on PSD. So Quentin, Pumper, Martian, all you guys, I need you in the chat with me for 30 minutes. You can yell at me. That's the fun of the chat. I know Ryan will be in there just yelling at me. There's no doubt about that. Can you stop hitting me for a minute?
The entire time I'm going to just put out things just to trigger you. It's gonna be
So it's going to be, and Dibes, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's going to be Thursday nights, 6:30.
Yes.
Thursday nights at 6:30. We're going to go live, just about a 20-minute to a half-hour show. Still the same premise, couple of topics. I'm going to be rambling through them, but now we're going to be able to, communicate with each other. And as far as I'm concerned, unless I'm wrong, Dibes, are we starting that this week? Or are we going right after it?
I think it's open.
I think it's open. I think we're going right into it, which is good because then I got to go away on a vacation. So I'll get one in before vacation to really get people fired up. That's the way I do things. So yeah, you can check me out there. Check me out here every Monday at Philly_Madness on Twitter. But let's have some fun. All right, let's have some fun with PSD. I think it'll be really good live.
Awesome.
Nice.
All right, be sure to check that out Thursday at 6:30. Ryan, time's yours.
Yeah. Hey, listen, every Monday's my busy day. 6:00 football smack talk show. My co-host and I, Eric, we're just going over the top 5 Eagles at every single position. We did offense 2 weeks ago. We did defense and special teams today. So check that out. By the way, I'm pretty sure my co-host and I are the longest duo in Philadelphia sports podcast history, by the way.
No way.
Just from what I have gathered. So yeah, check us out. Doesn't mean we're any good, but still check us out. Monday, 6:00 football smack talk show. Obviously, the funnest show here every Monday at 9. And then, of course, the best Eagles show there is, the Birds of the Round Table, tomorrow at 8:00. We are ranking positional rankings for the NFC East tomorrow. That should be a lot of fun. And listen, I still think, Rob, when you get back from vacation, we should figure out a show where we just yell at each other for 45 minutes. Entertaining.
Listen, I love yelling, so I'm all down for it.
Nice. And Q, I don't think I had Foles in my. I think we begrudgingly came to an agreement on our quarterbacks, but I think Foles might have made it at 5.
Wait, you did it all time?
Yeah. Well, in our lifetime, so from 1980 to now. Yeah. So we had to look up a few people just to make sure. Like Bill Berge made our linebacker list, but he stopped playing. Like the Super Bowl was his last game. So theoretically, that was a few months after Eric was born. So we counted them. So but yeah, that's it. Otherwise, please make sure you follow these guys on X. And honestly, make sure you're following everything from EOP. We're putting out just an insane amount of content right now on all the socials, shows every day. The best morning show Monday through Friday, trending in the AM. Like we got the best here. So I don't know why you're looking anywhere else. And the 97.5s and the 94.1s, they all go to hell. They're talking about the same crap that they've been talking about. Oh, Nick Foles, Jalen Hurts, and them like each other. Oh no. Like, shut up. Get some real stuff and come join us. All right. Let's go. Sorry, I'll fire it up for a second.
Now he's back. He was almost falling asleep. All right. I've been putting out a ton of NBA draft shorts. If you like the NBA draft at all, go check that out. So we are getting ready for the NBA draft. We will be doing an NBA draft watch party for at least round 1. Got like Sean Bernard, Mark Henry, and some others will be joining. Mitch Kofsky, I just saw, will be joining. So that will be fun. And we'll see you tomorrow night, breaking down the NFC East position by position on offense at 8:00. He is Rob Lange. He is Ryan Reese. I am Dives. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Stay awesome.